when I finished that last video, I had a prayer conversation with Dituro Suzuki in my head. And he says, you need to relax. And I was like, well, how do I relax? I'm the focal point for stopping abuse. He goes, yeah, relax. You're the focal point for stopping abuse. I was like, shut up. It was adorable. He goes, relax. You're the focal point for stopping abuse. It's like, how do I relax? I'm the focal point for stopping abuse. He goes, yeah, relax. Like you told the little family at the store. He said, we sat and talked, and because she had a lot of questions, and she has a very kind husband, and I just instantly liked him. You know how some people you run into and you're just like, wow, we connect spiritually. And when I told them about eternity, I said, if you have to relax and understand and have faith in the glory of God, and we all die, okay, we all live and we all die, and we share spirituality through holy covenants, through the continuation of structures of temples for the soul, through holy covenants, through sexual reproduction, right? Now, when, like with an apple tree and so forth, when something all comes to pass, say we're part of a supernova that evolves into a black hole. Now, the way that the movement of the soul or the spirit would go is in part of the supernova, it could send, things for life, racing quickly towards another galaxy, and then be a part of symbiotic life on a planet that's similar to here, with similar life forms and stuff. So you don't sit there and think, we've got to rebuild this and do this all over again. You just have to understand, be grateful, obey natural laws, and respect and love. Okay. So it's not anything, because she has kids. And how do you explain the Gospels scientifically to people with kids so it's not creepy? Like the old televangelist preachers used to creep people out and how stupid it is and to threaten each other with nuclear weapons. And how do you get rid of a lot of that aggressive, violent, selfish fear and Frankenstein type activity? By being humble and faithful and grateful, It was a good connection. I have good connection with a lot of people today. And I knew I had to go shopping today. I got to go shopping. I hate shopping, but I love people. And when you love people, the necessity for, quote, shopping does not exist, okay? King Solomon's Israel. You share, care, give in accordance to need, built to last. So when we're doing things right, we'll all get together and share. Like me and the one lady we're talking about with the paper towels. She's so sweet. And I said, relax, that was also a thing like, just, relax. You know that what you're doing, once we eliminate money and conflict and have us doing things irrationally. And we had these beautiful conversations. We talked about Mr. Stallman and the Stallman. She goes, remember Mr. Stallman used to use the goats, the geese and to clean up the weeds in the thing. Yeah. He didn't use a weed eater. He didn't use Tesla powered weed cutters and stuff like that. He had geese and other things like that go through and eat the weeds. Okay, geese and goats and stuff. And then they poop and they fertilize. It's genius. It is. It's brilliant. It's like, hey, how Lord Abraham of you. And because it was in the ancient times and you didn't have the equipment and And so, wow, go figure. Well, Mexicans, yeah. People will end up grabbing the goats and milking the goats and eating the geese and, and that will happen too. But you got to understand, you might want to ask before you do. But what we got to learn to do is just learn to work together and share together. And share, care, give, accordance to need, built to last. And so we got to do things communally. And like with the Apaches, when the ranchers came and set up in Apache country, and they had cattle, and they'd pray because they were hungry, and a cow would come into camp. You got to remember, the movies that you watch, like Chato's Land and stuff like that those are, there's some matters and things of truth in that. But when you watch, like, you ever seen Broken Arrow? When Jimmy Stewart finds the young Apache boy who's attempted murder by the white people, and he helps him and saves his life. And then he sits there and says, my mother cries because she thinks that, and he's like, Apaches cry? And they actually, they have emotions like us. They don't act like it. Because when you're fighting over what you need because of wants, people don't seem like people to one another. They don't seem like, they're not even, remember that goofy movie from Disney, Pocahontas? Savages, savages, barely even human, savages, savages, killers at the core. When you lose respect for the glory of life and you see the glory of life only through your perception, my God, my Jesus, my Muhammad, you got to understand, that's one of the coolest things about Islam, okay, is that it understands that the roots of Islam come from the faith of Abraham. And that the continuation of the faith of Abraham was through Yahweh, Jesus, okay, Jesus, all right. And it says that in the Quran, in the very first pages, because that was the first prayer that Muhammad shared with everybody. And it was the first one. So they, the very first part of the book, they very much have to make sure it's right. Okay. Not everybody remembered all the other ones, but the beginning, yes. Okay. And so some of the surahs in the Quran have been corrupted by the people that change it. Because remember, Muhammad told me that in prayer in Sierra Vista, when the young gentleman who's technically a relative and, in closer ways, the one that was the handsome one that was from the line of Ali. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's a relative. He's a handsome kid. But my nephews are all gorgeous. They got movie star good looks, right? And so it makes sense there. Okay. But when we sat and we talked, and he talked about the stuff with the Quran, and I tried explaining it to him, and he said, no, it doesn't translate properly. And Muhammad told me, faith in God does not get lost in translation. So in 30 years, they changed it to try to suit themselves instead of faith in the glory of God. And there are a lot of points of contention in the Quran where it's patriarchal. Okay. And every time it becomes dominant patriarchal, it's men changing it to suit themselves and not teach you the truth about holy covenants and faith. It's just like the stuff about that I explained about what happened with David and with Solomon, with having to keep, quote, what they called concubines and having to save women from rape and let them keep what they perceive as their virtue, their virginity. Okay. It doesn't explain that in the Bible because it was taken out by people that were like Puritists. And, and David's big thing is we're not allowed to commit suicide. Like on Jimmy Stewart's Two Rode Together of James Whitmark, Why didn't you commit suicide instead of have sex with Stonecalf? I don't know. Woody Strode's pretty good looking. But he was very attractive. And you've seen that movie? He's handsome and his body's in great shape and stuff. And it's Woody Strode. He's one of my favorite actors when I was a kid. I liked him as Sergeant. I can't remember the name of it. Where he was a Buffalo Soldier getting tried for treason, and they exonerate him. Where he's not guilty. It's one of my favorite movies. Well, because the black guy was the hero, and he comes out not getting murdered or killed. He gets people that stand up for him because he's right and he's good. That was one of my favorite movies when I was a kiddo. Because you're always looking for that hope in the movies when you watch, because usually the black guys would get in there and get killed in their movie and all this stuff. And we're just like, the guy in the red shirt on Star Trek, right? Like guy on Galaxy Quest, the guy, he always gets killed, And so it was nice to see. I like a lot of my Jim Brown movies I liked as a kid too, because he was a protagonist. He was a central figure, and he didn't end up getting killed. He actually made it through the story and his character got to live out a life. As Woody Strode, yeah. But in that movie, When she came back and what they happened, and the people judged her, it says she's Catholic. She can't commit suicide. So she's taken and captive and raped. She's not allowed to kill herself. Okay, but when she comes back, she should be allowed to be one of us. That's what David and Solomon did. And people are saying, you're playing God. It's like, no, you are. When a man rapes a woman, okay, how can he steal her virtue if we're not allowed to commit suicide? Because it's a sin. You're not a very good Hebrew, are you? Okay. I've been explaining this to people for years. It's this kind of stuff. Every time when they say stuff, and from the time I was a kid, but I am the spirit of King David. Okay. So if you want to know the true story, the real story, what really happened, you come talk to Earl. Because me and David are one. And so we talk about things and stuff like that. I'm getting real strong emotions and stuff from this Wolfcan chick that got manipulated by the Templar Illuminati. I hope it doesn't get too intense because I really want to sleep tonight. I'm sleepy. Going to bed early. Right? But to relax, I sat and watched the Lone Star Conference. And they had on the South Central region tournament thing in Portales. And it had my favorite teams in there. It had Fort Lewis, Western, Highlands, and Eastern. Right? They were all playing against each other. Like a little round robin kind of tournament. So it was kind of neat. Got to watch all the kids. But the favorite one that I watched tonight was the same like I did a couple of years ago when they had Kids Day in Las Vegas at the Highlands game at the Wilson Gym. And it held about 5,000, and they had about 4,000 to 3,000. They took all the kids from town and had them at the game. Most of them stayed for the whole game here against Northern New Mexico. But it's neat. I love Kids Day because you can hear the kids. They scream. They love it, right? And I know the players really must love it when it's Kids Day. They probably sit there and think, we need more Kids Day. Because I'm looking at the little arena, and it holds about 5,000. And there's probably about 3,500 people in there. And most of them are kids, and they're excellent cheerers. They get excited, and especially the little girls, those are the budding cheerleaders and stuff. And it's adorable. And you're sitting there, and I guess, just watching the game, and it's weird because I like all the teams. And so when one wins, you're feeling good for them, but you're also feeling bad for the team that's losing. When Western New Mexico started out the season as a win after only winning 5 games last year. But they brought in this Brody kid from Scottsdale, and this McCullum kid is good. And then they brought the other kid back that was one of the early scorers of the Kelly. And they some of the other kids coming in the rotation were athletic and playing well and doing real good. And what's the other kid's name? I think it was Dorsey, and stuff. Good at blocking shots and running the floor and stuff. So they had a lot of athleticism that apparently they didn't have last year. So they almost beat Fort Lewis, who's always really good recently. And they had that big kid, boy, is Ding or whatever. Oh my gosh, he's a long, tall drink of water. And he can shoot the 3. He's good. He probably won't be there for long. He'll probably have some major college offer him some money to, or, and even that, or been a mid-major, offer him some money to come play in a bigger city. I'd be like, oh gosh, money sucks. Can't I just stay in Durango for 4 years? Can't I just stay in Silver City for 4 years? Why do we have to play for money? Why can't we live the Lord's Prayer, have a place to stay, enjoy people enjoy us, and have Kids Day a lot. Lots of Kids Day. It's making me smile. And I think that's one thing that helps me relax. But I'll try to relax more. Suzuki says, you need to do that. You're very stressed, and you got to find things and think of to help you relax. You are the focal point of stopping abuse, so you need to relax. And I believe in the intent of the stories, the letter of the stories. No, because when I fulfilled them in Sierra Vista, and then fulfilled the timetables of the book of Daniel during the Obama administration, all the people that used the books to manipulate people for genocide didn't do a damn thing. So I don't believe in the letter of the books. I believe in the intent of the books. And the intent of the books is the heart of David for the Ark of the Covenant, and that's me. So I believe in what I'm doing because I believe that I am the line of King David. My grandmother and my mother are Ruth's line, and I am the Ark of the Covenant. And so the stop for the fuck for the buck works here. So I need to relax because you are the focal point of stopping abuse. Yeah, I get it. So yeah, he's so sweet. I love Suzuki. Is like, yeah, I get it. Okay, so let's do this. Okay, all you people that don't want to stop abuse, you're not the focal point of stopping it. So just relax. We'll take care of it for you. Okay, peace.